Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up and Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Back at it. Wow, Tuesday. Thank you so much for being Up and Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. Well, that was a trip. That was so needed, and so went to Maine for a little over a week. And I'm excited about today's show. I want to tell you about today's show. I want to tell you about the trip. What do we do first? Let's tell you about today's show first, because I'm stoked on it. It's going to be a fun show. 30 years ago, the Performing Arts Center in San Luis Obispo opened its doors, but for Ron Regier, this isn't just an anniversary. He helped actually build the place, helped guide it through its first 2 decades. And on his last day before retirement, he sits alone in the balcony, stood on the empty stage, and then pulled the front door shut after already turning in his keys. 10 years later, the PAC's 30th anniversary actually gave him a reason he couldn't resist to come back out of retirement, 10 years out of retirement. And he says he's bringing with him this time something you can't put on a blueprint: heart and history. And wait until you hear the stories that lived inside this building. A Grizzly Academy graduation where young cadets realized they're worthy of the room that they were standing in. Or a 6th grader who talked her way onto the big stage, then returned decades later to find her name still written backstage. Jason Mraz creating one of the most intimate moments Ron had ever seen between an artist and an audience. This a moment that actually, we're going to tell him, started on our show, Up and Adam. And now, September 26th, they're throwing the doors open again for a 30th anniversary at the PAC, a celebration inspired by the original Hard Hat Ball, complete with live music, lots of it, food, drinks, somehow perfectly another full moon. Ron Regier joins me later on Up and Adam in just a few minutes. This one really about what happens when a building stops being just a building and it becomes part of the community soul. The PAC turns 30. Ron Regier has been there for a long time, and he's back, and he's going to tell us all about it as the executive director for the Foundation for the Performing Arts Center. All right, let's talk about Maine. Maine was technically a trip. I wrote some words down because it became something so much bigger. It was an early moon, kind of an early honeymoon before Lady I Fancy and I get married in a couple months. It was a chance to breathe after a heavy summer, after, losing my dad in early June. And really, also, it was an opportunity to see the place that helped shape who she was. And I didn't just visit Maine. I mean, I investigated the shit out of it. I lived on Bear Pond for a week. I swam, floated, skinny dipped, listened to loons, and gradually made peace with the strange lake bottom beneath my feet. I learned about dragonflies, mosquitoes, water striders, freshwater clams, northern pike, yeah, they're in there, possible leeches, and every other creature I briefly suspected might be trying to kill me. Most of them, in fairness, were not. I explored Saco, Portland, Old Orchard Beach, Bill's Pizza, and the quieter roads between all of them. I dropped Lady I Fancy off at Camp Susan Curtis, where her mom and some other women were doing a women's retreat, and then got to understand another place connected to her history. I dealt with, of course, the less romantic side of travel too: hotels, rental car returns, airport shuttles, and a brutally early flight out of Logan. And then there was Bonaventura Winery. I mean, this completely unexpected winery sitting beside Bear Pond. Bear Pond is like this bigger aspect, and it's got a little mouth, and then it goes into a smaller, and they call it Little Bear Pond. And there's this winery sitting right on the coast and, 100 feet up the hill, all this whole beautiful piece of land called Bonaventura Winery. The couple, fantastic, making wine in a place most people would, not really think of as wine country. I mean, there's other wine in Maine, yeah, but not around Bear Pond. I learned about cold climate grapes like Seville Blanc, never heard of it. De Chaunac, I don't think I'm saying that right. Marquette, Leon Millat, I don't know if I'm saying these right. We talked about Piquette, experimentation, and what it meant to kind of make something authentic with whatever the land gives you. And that's what Chad and Jen were all about. They even tell this story, and I'm going to have them on an interview, so I don't want to tell too much, but they set out their dream on this land, making wine or, growing the vineyards. And then they find out, oh yeah, Hartford, Maine, it is a dry town. They had to get a referendum for the whole town to get behind them, to say, yes, this couple can follow their dream. They can make and sell wine. So it almost reminds you of home a little bit, because it really just reminds you that, wine culture doesn't belong to the famous regions. Sometimes the most interesting stories are growing somewhere nobody is even looking. I asked questions about everything: the lake, the wildlife, the wine, the towns, and the people. That curiosity turned unfamiliar surroundings into something I could understand and felt I was really connecting with. It also reminded me that the question that sounds ridiculous at first, it can sometimes lead to the next story worth telling. The trip was full of contrasts. California wine guy meets Maine wine country. Confident, lifelong swimmer becomes deeply suspicious of lake vegetation. A romantic early moon includes mosquito warfare and water trapped in my ear. The humor didn't cheapen the meaningful parts. It made the whole experience just honest, raw, natural. Maine. The best moments came from talking to the people. Like I told you, that winemaker besides the main lake and his wife. A cautious homeowner answering the door. I'll tell you that story later. Locals explaining the land, water, culture. Maine opened up because I engaged with it instead of just simply passing through it. The biggest lesson was that loving someone also means wanting to understand the landscape that molded them. I saw a lady I fancy breathe the air she breathed growing up. I saw the roads, water, camps, towns, houses that existed before I even knew her. And just weeks before our wedding, I got to know my future wife more deeply by meeting such a huge piece of her past. Maine taught me that rest isn't always doing nothing. A house can remember something for decades, and curiosity can turn anxiety into understanding. And that's where Maine took me. So cool. And I got a couple more stories from Maine. They're so good. It's such a good life, cool, unbelievable, probably tear you up. Yeah, I got some good stories. Wait till the end of the week. Okay, I had some lo-fi headlines here. Do we even have time? I kind of want to get right into my chat with Ron Regier. I had some notes on the weather. It's getting warm this week. I mean, really, really warm. If you've enjoyed that mild kind of Central Coast weekend we had a couple of days back, I hope you said thank you, because it's over. Heat is coming back this weekend, just ramping up by tomorrow, especially if we're talking San Luis Obispo. We're going to be in the 90s today, close to 100 tomorrow, but then we're going to be dropping back down. North County, it's game over. It's just super warm. Temps in the hundreds and maybe in the thousands. Are they in the thousands yet? I don't know. They're just really, really hot. So make sure you take all the precautions. Staying hydrated is super important. Not leaving anything in the car. Cars, I had a rental car, which was like a 2026 something. And like, as you turn off the car, it goes like, bing, bing, like get the people out of the back. Whoa. That's like a thing where we need remember like the idiot lights? Oh, your light's on, or put your seatbelt on. Now we have warnings in the cars to make sure to remove everyone from the back of it. So yeah, inland communities headed right back into triple digits. That will all kind of ease off as Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll get a little bit more down to some normal temps. Still going to be a nice warm weekend. And then I think we might even cool down into the 70s, at least in places like San Luis Obispo. So we'll see. The oven is back on, at least for a couple days. Gonna be warm. Heat advisory in effect. All right, let's get right into our chat with Ron Regier. This is a really good chat, I'll tell you. I want to thank my friends, the Mountain Air, San Luis Obispo, for being Up and Adam. These guys are about as local as it gets. Been here for over 50 years. 1975, helping generations of locals get outside, touch grass at all skill levels. Hiking, camping, climbing. They're there to answer all your questions. They got the maps. They're your neighbors. Check them out. They got a sister shop 2 doors down called The Switchback. You can buy and sell used gear. Maybe you're getting out of one hobby into another. Check out theswitchback.com for more and themountaineer.com. Love Josh and Lindsay here, and great people, the Mountain Air, San Luis Obispo.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, Ron Regier has spent nearly 5 decades in the performing arts, but few chapters are as personal as this one. He came to San Luis Obispo in 1987, helped plan and open the Christopher Cohan Center, led the Performing Arts Center for 2 decades, retired in 2015, and then 10 years later, found himself pulled back by the very place he helped bring to life. Now as the PAC celebrates its 30th anniversary, he's back as the executive director of the Foundation for the Performing Arts Center, helping honor the history, the people, and the thousands of moments that have filled that room. Ron Regier in the SLO Studios. Let's drop in. Ron, it is really good to have you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You know, your story there's almost something like cinematic about your relationship with the PAC, right? I mean, you were there. So much of it was like still in like planning phases, meetings, drawings, problems to solve. And now people walk through those doors carrying 30 years of memories.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the PAC to you, like it almost stopped feeling like something that you were building, involved in, and it kind of just became everyone's?
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, I can point to an exact moment, actually, Adam. It's really interesting because our son played baseball. I was sitting in the bleachers, sat next to someone I knew from San Luis Obispo, and we got to talking about the Performing Arts Center. And this is probably, I'm going to say 5-6 years into this. So 5 or 6 years after we opened. And he said to me, you know what? He said, I love going to the Performing Arts Center because it's like being in my living room. He said, I feel so comfortable in that space. And that was like an aha moment for me. I loved hearing that from him, that he felt so comfortable. Perfect. It's such an important space, such an important room for the community. Something that I've been working on lately is kind of a chronology of those gathering spaces in the community. You know, started out with some of the bigger movie theaters back in the day, and then the gymnasiums, and then there was an auditorium at the high school that had to be torn down. And all of these were great community gathering spaces. And then for a while, we had nothing in San Luis Obispo, no major gathering space. And so the symphony moved down to Arroyo Grande to perform. There was just no major gathering spaces in the community until the Performing Arts Center was built. And so to me, it's much more than just a performance space. It's just much more than performing arts. It's where the community shares experiences. They gather, they share experiences, and that's what makes it special to me.
What were I'm so curious, like those early challenges? You might get back budgets and you're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? Or I mean, you're planning for a building that still has to be relevant, tech ready, savvy, 30 years down the line.
Yeah.
You know, of course, there's improvements and things that go through, but I mean, you're building something for the future at that point.
Yeah.
What were some of the big hurdles then?
Yeah, so interesting. The first major hurdle from a facility point of view was that the control system for the architectural lighting blew up, went out. That was like within the first 2 years of the building.
Wow.
And so, I mean, the system itself was fine, but the control system blew up. And so we had to replace it. And we didn't have the money for it initially. So I talked to John Dunn, talked to President Baker at the university, and we came up with an idea to create a sinking fund that all three partners, so the Foundation for the Performing Arts Center and the City of San Luis Obispo and Cal Poly, would contribute annually to a sinking fund that would then create a reserve that would fund these kinds of expenditures over a period of time. And we would do our best to kind of predict the life expectancy of different building components like the seats or, the roof or the carpet or all that kind of stuff, or electrical lighting system controls,
Right.
whatever it was. So we had an enormous spreadsheet that went for miles. And so we began to accumulate funds over time, more than we needed initially because it was a new building. But over time, we had system failures and other issues, had to replace carpet. But we always had a reserve fund to draw from, and that's still in existence today. And the mantra, if you will, for it, the theme that we've always had for the building is that it must be kept in as new condition, world-class as new. And, you have to stop and think about that for a minute. What does that mean? Because not every building, not every program or project is going to want to stay not just as it was, but as new, meaning as new for the future, like what you were saying.
Yeah, upgrade.
Upgrades. Yeah. This wasn't just about replacing something that broke with what already existed. This was about anticipating the future and the new technological developments or the new requirements of a theatrical audience. I mean, think about it too. In the 1990s, when the Performing Arts Center opened, there was no social media.
Right.
Yeah, no cell phones. Now audiences come with cell phones. They come with different expectations for entertainment, for socialization, and so on and so forth. And so performing arts centers are now built differently than they were 30 years ago to account for all of that. And we were kind of on the end of a certain era.
Totally.
Yeah. And so we have to anticipate that. And it was a challenge, and that funding is still in place. And we're still saying we want to remain as new building. So,
you were retired for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And you'd spent already like 20 maybe or so.
20 years.
Yeah. With the pack.
Yeah.
And being part of that initial, pioneering, community that put it together. What brought you back? And what is the feeling in your heart that pulled you back in and said, because you could have said, no, I'm retired, 10 years retired.
Right.
But your heart brought you back here.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was, Adam. I never lost the passion for the Performing Arts Center or for the performing arts in general. And, since that time, my wife and I have remained in the community. We've remained season ticket holders. So we go all the time anyway. And so we always have the passion. I was involved for a period in the SLO rep development, and that's an awesome thing going on. And so is Sloma. I mean, I absolutely love what Leanne's doing, and Ermina and their core, their board of directors. That's an awesome enterprise. Yeah. Leanne just gave me a tour of their building.
The new spot.
Oh my God. Have you been there?
I've seen just pictures.
Oh yeah. She should give you a tour. You should go down there because it was truly amazing.
How has she not offered that to me yet?
Yeah,
a dear friend of mine never offered a tour.
Oh,
I'm going to take her up.
How dear a friend is she?
I'm going to invite myself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Thank you for a tour, Leanne. No, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was amazing. Anyway, what drew me back? So the 30th anniversary. I retired at the end of 20 years. There was supposed to be a big celebration at 25 years. That's sort of a natural sort of marker, milestone, if you will. But I decided that when I heard it was the 30th, that it was time for me to get back involved and try to bring some heart and history back to the organization and to the feeling surrounding the Foundation for the Performing Arts Center. And
so that milestone really was something specific for you.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely specific for me. I talked to Ryan Gruss, the manager of the Performing Arts Center, and of course I talked to Brittany Couch, the president of the board of directors, and kind of got a sense of what they were hoping to accomplish during the 30th anniversary year. So there's two things really. 30th anniversary year is 26. The facility opened September 27th of 1996, so coming right up soon on the actual 30th anniversary. But then the 30th anniversary season goes through June of next year. And so, yeah, to have the opportunity to kind of describe and to create what the celebration was going to be, along with a lot of other people for the 30th anniversary of the Performing Arts Center, was something I just couldn't resist.
I can't wait to talk about it. First, I want to ask you something about the feeling in there, because someone, not many people have even been through those halls, those back annals, as many times as you have. And I go, people might know what it feels like when there's 1,000 people in there, but the feelings when it's empty. No one's there. No one's going to be there all day, or maybe they're coming that evening. What are some of your favorite places to just kind of be in that building?
That's an interesting question, because I retired at the very end of a calendar year. So December 31st, 2015 was my last day as manager of the Performing Arts Center. And so what I did that day was just go in the hall. One thing I did that day, I went into the hall. I went up into the balcony level, which is where I like to sort of sneak in when I had the opportunity. When I had a break in the office, I would sneak in the balcony level and just kind of hide in the shadows up there and watch what was going on stage. And so that's what I did my last day, except there was nobody else in the building. Wow. It was just me, So I went up there, sat in the front row, just looked down on the building, or on the stage, and just kind of took that in for a little while. And it was emotional for me.
Sure.
And then two other emotional moments. So then I went down on the stage and then looked back at the audience. And I'm not a performer, and I'm eternally grateful that there are performers, people willing to do that and who have the talent to do it.
Right.
I'm not a performer, but many, many, many times I have gone on stage to introduce or to do a speech or do something like that. So here I was on my retirement day, sort of standing on the front edge of the stage and looking out at the empty audience, just the empty chairs. And that was a special moment. And then the final moment, because I'd already turned in my keys, going out the front door and pulling the door closed, knowing I couldn't get back in. So that was an emotional moment.
Of course.
But then I'd like to try to describe what we've been doing since I came back with the tours that we've been giving.
Sure.
So initially, I gave a couple tours for people that knew a lot about the Performing Arts Center or about the arts in general, performing arts in general. And so we were trying to show them systems and how they worked and let them play around with things, and showed a lot of the whiz-bang aspects of the Performing Arts Center. There's a lot of whiz-bang going on there. But the first, I guess, public tour that we did where anybody could sign up, we didn't know who was coming. So we kind of had to start the tour from square zero in terms of introducing the Performing Arts Center and what it could do, who it was for, and so on and so forth, why it is the way it is. And so we had about 15, 20 people in that group. And so I took kind of a stripped down approach to the tour and walked them in, sat them, sort of like what I did when I retired, sat them in the hall where they can observe an empty hall, no business going on, no stage crew happening, no student matinees going on. It was just them and the building. And to then answer questions, kind of describe the design, the acoustics, why it is the way it is, how it functions, but to describe it, not to show it, but to describe it, and try to describe to them the flexibility the hall has, the acoustic characteristics that we can change and adapt. And it's an amazing space, but what it allowed was for the people on the tour to develop a relationship with the building. And after that very first tour, it was like an epiphany. I just had never anticipated the kind of emotional reaction that people had. I mean, this building's been open for 30 years, but for some of these folks, just basically signing up off the street. I mean, wasn't VIPs, it wasn't big donors. Right. It was just anybody could sign up. And to get them in the building and take them around to all the different, inside the pipe organ, under the stage, backstage, talk about the graffiti wall, the dressing rooms, all of that, talk about the sound isolation characteristics of the building, just all the technical stuff. that it was an emotional thing for people. And I never expected that kind of reaction. We got a letter after one of the tours recently, an email actually, from someone who had found out, they were on our mailing list. So they found out about the tour. They signed up for the tour. They drove all the way up from Culver City specifically for this tour. They took it and they were blown away by the building. And they went back and they wrote us an email and they said, you know, we love the performing arts. That's why we came up to look at your building and take your tour. But, you know, I've been on other performing arts tours. I've been on a guided tour that I paid for of Disney Hall, and it didn't even compare to your building and to what you were describing there. So, yeah, it was amazing.
Well, and the power of the pack.
Yeah, it was. That so building has a personality. And we were just there to kind of expose it. So it was really great.
That is a really neat story. Before we get into what's happening on the actual 30th anniversary, because this sounds like a blast of an evening. I'm still curious, like what maybe you learned as you came back about the purpose of not just the arts, but maybe your role in it that younger Ron might not have even understood.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true, Adam. I don't know if I can put it into words succinctly, but I thought I was an arts administrator. You know, that's what I trained for. I mean, my background leading up all the way to coming to, well, until graduate school before coming to Cal Poly, and I was first the director of Cal Poly Arts, was all in theater and music and becoming a practitioner. And then I trained in the business of the arts. So I thought I was going to be an arts administrator, but the reality is that the role is bigger than that. I don't know how to describe it, but when you have a building like that and it's central to the community's heartbeat, as it is, and there are other buildings like that, there's other spaces in the community that are part of the heartbeat, obviously. Talked about the Mission or other places, but this building's part of the heartbeat of the community, so you're not just an arts administrator. And I love to tell the story about the Grizzly Academy graduations that take place there. So for, I don't know how many years, we had 2 Grizzly Academy graduations a year. And of all of the events, this one kind of hit me here more than the other ones. At one point, the sergeant who was in charge, we were meeting, talking about it, and she said, you know, when we arrive with the cadets here for the graduation, we bring them in the back way and we bring them out on stage and they look at that hall and we have to give them 10 minutes. We cannot get their attention on what they need to be paying attention to for 10 minutes. Because by and large, they've never been in a space like that.
Yeah.
And what they're realizing is that they are being brought there to graduate and they're transforming their lives. Their lives are changing as a result of the Grizzly Academy. And where they're graduating in the Performing Arts Center is a manifestation of all of that.
Yes.
So it's proving to these cadets that they're worthy of this transition in their lives. And when she was talking to me about that, I was like, are you kidding me? Wow, that's amazing. That is absolutely
a great story.
Yeah, that's astonishing. That was a moment for me.
Yeah, I love this. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'll talk about how organizations or people can help FPAC. I mean, because I know from when Leanne was there and I kind of first got my taste of being part of the committee and the loading dock party, you know, the gala that they do.
Yeah.
It was like, I'd see these buses come with matinees and they bring kids from all over. Yeah. And it's like, these kids haven't been to a thing like this. It's really special.
Right.
You know, turning, you know, igniting the arts in young boys and girls can be just, it could change them.
Oh, absolutely. Change them. Yeah. It's so for so many kids on the Central Coast, coming to the Performing Arts Center for a student matinee or for a family performance. And the Performing Arts Center does these pay what you can performances for families at certain times a year. And so it's very affordable. Student matinees are free, largely thanks to the Foundation for the Performing Arts Center and other donors. But it's their first exposure. And again, I keep going back to this, and I guess I have to apologize. It's more than just the arts. It's more than just the performing arts. This could very well be that child's first experience in a large group like this. The first time they've gathered in a crowd, an organized crowd, and be instructed how to behave as part of a group, a large group. So it's part of the learning experience, the growing up experience.
It's a moment, for sure.
Yeah,
Creates
for young
moments.
people. Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
Let's have the 30th anniversary. This is going to be a blast. September 26th,
Right.
7:30. And the idea is food and wine spread out, people mingling.
Yep.
I'm looking at your performers and I'm like, are they all on the stage? No, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
You just got them playing at different spots so people go, oh, I'm going to go check out Be in the Hive. I mean, they're incredible.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Damon Castillo.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yep.
I love DJ Mermaid, also DJ Manogill. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Molly Clark, the DJ. I had no idea.
Really?
I just had her in studio here a couple weeks ago.
I know.
I didn't know about DJ Momo.
Well, you have to ask her about
She's
that.
perfect for
Yeah,
it.
she's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Hot 45, super fun band.
Yeah.
And Lizzie and the Triggerments. You got great music.
Yeah, great music. And it's all set up everywhere like you're describing. So we're on stage. There's going to be, on the stage, there will be dance floor and there'll be tables for people to sit at. There'll be the band set up on a stage, the DJ. I don't know if you know what the president's box is there in the hall, but up high on one side, the DJs are going to be up there, or the DJ, one DJ up there. But as people enter from the parking structure out in the plaza, there'll be a stage set up there.
Cool.
Yeah, Miller is going to be setting up lights and sound out there, and we're going to have food trucks, and there'll be a beer and cider garden out there for people to enjoy, and there'll be strolling artists throughout, and we're going to have several bars inside the building, different places. The pavilion's a little bit hard to describe where it is if you haven't been there, but it's kind of downstairs. It's a nice rectangular, very flexible room, and that's where Damon's going to be and others. So we'll have food near there and a bar, and so it's just kind of all over the place. You
That's
just kind of
clever. I like that. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
kind of meander. What it does is it shares the property. It makes you explore.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's in the spirit of the Hard Hat Ball that we did in June of 1996.
Oh, okay.
Which was the first exposure that the public had to the Performing Arts Center.
So it's like, hey, walk around, check it out.
Yeah. So we did this kind of a thing back then. It was all hard hat themed. The theme for this one is Old Hollywood, which I think is appropriate and totally fun. But back then it was a hard hat ball and people wandered all over the place. In fact, I still am afraid when I go to open a closet door that, some skeleton's going to fall out, because people were literally everywhere that night. They were up in the chandelier. They were down. They were everywhere that night. And it was incredible fun. And it was a special night. It was a full moon night back on June 29, 1996, when this happened. Just so happens this is a full moon night as well.
Oh, wow.
I know. And I didn't plan it that way. It just happened.
Even more cool about it, though.
Yeah, I know. I was at home. I was resting. I'm going, I wonder if there's a full moon anywhere near this day. Yeah, exactly. So I look it up and I'm like, no way.
That's so cool.
Full moon night. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I loved those old loading dock parties.
Yeah.
Those were a lot of fun. And just the idea of we would find kids. There was a kid on my show Kiko, who we ended up giving him a saxophone courtesy of FPAC. I'll always have a really soft spot for, it's How I Met Leanne, who's now a dear friend now. And I just think it's so cool.
How dear is she, though? She hasn't invited you down to see the SLOMA, the new museum.
The new museum. You're right.
What the heck?
We'll have to assess that.
Yeah, I think.
Very much. I'm going to be sending her a strongly worded email. But no, it's just so cool that I'll always have a soft spot for the work of FPAC. And it's exciting to meet you.
Oh,
and
thank you.
To have you and you are one of these stories that is just so much fun to listen to you tell them. This is really, because I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of any organization. I just love to tell the stories and promote people and bring people in here. But the fact that you were retired for 10 years, there's something about you that people see and appreciate and maybe even need. And I think that's cool. That, good for you for having the heart for coming back.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said, heart is part of it, and I think what I'm trying to do is bring the heart with the history and explain the story to people. And it's just amazing, the foundation has been putting out this sort of biweekly newsletter kind of a thing with articles in it about back in the day. And a lot of it is stuff that only some of us know, or remember at this point, because it's so long ago. But trying to tell those stories again and helping people understand what it took to put this very special building together.
Absolute favorite act that you've seen there?
Oh, okay. Well, for me, it was, my era. So Crosby, Stills and Nash reunion concert. Yeah. It was recorded and broadcast live on PBS, but recorded for later broadcast as well.
Wow.
So it's something you can still see, I think. And it was quite the production, I guess I would say. And then for another entirely different reason, Jason Mraz.
I was just going to say that.
You were?
Yes.
What?
I was going to say Jason Mraz.
Oh my God.
It's when he came and he brought the kids from Take It Slower.
Yes.
That happened from my show.
Yeah. Oh.
I had these kids, the Take It Slow, the acapella.
Yeah.
I had them on my morning show and I recorded it on my phone. And you go back and watch that video. It's so, you could see how phones have progressed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I sent it to Otter Productions.
Yeah.
Bruce. And then I said, dude, just send it to Jason's people. I won't have any expectations. And he's like, don't even think about it again. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure as shit. Jason Mraz sees the video. He calls up the kid who at the time, Spencer, was the president of Take It Slow. And then he brings them on stage. Yeah. And then I got to meet Jason and thank him afterwards. Yeah. And it was that was the coolest time. Like tears in my eyes watching Jason bring these kids up, and they still talk about that. Oh my God, Adam, when Jason Mraz brought us up on stage.
That's amazing.
Coolest moment.
We're called Take It Slow. We've been around for about 10 years now on campus of Cal Poly. We were on a radio show about a month ago, Adam in the morning, and he recorded a studio version of The Pie, just really rough at 7 a.m. But and he sent it on to the promoters of the pack, who then sent it to, I guess, Jason's team. And then just stroke of luck yesterday, 24 hours ago, we got this message from them saying that we could come and do this today. So we're excited about it.
We're super stoked.
See, nothing is ever as it seems. This life is but a dream.
It's so amazing that it was one of my special moments.
Yeah.
And you were part of creating that.
Unreal.
That's unreal. Yeah.
And there's a video that he actually posted on YouTube. Jason did. I'll have to forward it to you if you haven't seen it, but it's a clip from that evening. And then he goes back and he signs the graffiti wall.
Oh, yeah. The graffiti wall. Yeah.
And let's not forget and take it slow.
Take it slow. Take it slow. Yeah, we're just taking it easy.
I signed right near when I did my TEDx. I signed right near him.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I think Jerry Seinfeld was one of the absolute best ones too. I love comedy.
That was awesome.
Seeing Jerry Seinfeld here in SLO, that was nuts.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. But let me talk about Jason Mraz for just one more minute.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember this, if you were so part of the other part of the concert, but there was a part, I think toward the end, where he just came down stage and sat on the front edge of the stage just by himself and sang and played and sang. And it was the most effective, intimate moment between artist and audience I have ever seen. Now, I've seen other moments like it, but I've never seen an intimacy between artist and audience like I felt that day in the hall.
Yeah.
So,
When you watch, I'll send you the link with you. When you watch that clip that he did from that evening at the Pack with Take It Slow, he's sitting on the end of the stage and they're standing behind him.
Yeah.
I mean, if I watch it, I'll like tear up and I'll get chills.
Yeah,
It's so neat. And the arts, it's only the arts can do that to you,
yeah.
You know,
For
it was
sure.
so magnanimous of him to like bring them in and take the time to rehearse. It was just so cool.
Yeah,
It was just so cool.
Yeah. So Jerry Seinfeld, that was an interesting one. I mean, he did 2 shows. And at the time, he was only doing smaller, out of the way places, which is the only reason we qualified. And the Pack itself is not typically a presenter of events, and we're a rental facility. So all of a sudden, just one day out of the blue, his management called. And it was not an easy process to work out the details for Jerry Seinfeld. Everybody wants him, you know, and to make sure that you had all the ducks in a row to make it possible for him to come. And I don't remember a lot of it.
Did you have to line him up with a promoter or did you do it?
No, it was a self-promotion.
Okay.
Yep. Self-promotion. So it was him and his people and us.
Got it.
It was simple from that point of view, but
how much did it cost?
Well, so he didn't cost anything because he was self-promoting.
Got it.
Yeah. So, but we had to jump through some hoops in terms of the ticketing and what percentage he got and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So
the Pack can make a good amount on a night like that, right?
It can. Yeah, it can make a good amount on something like that, but those are few and far between, those kinds of serious opportunities.
Would you like to do more of those if they came your way?
I'm sure. I'm not involved in that, but I'm sure they would. They would love to be able to do that.
Is that a Cal Poly Arts thing?
It should be a Cal Poly Arts thing, but if entirely possible that, you know, an attraction could become aware to Molly, to Ryan, and it isn't something that Cal Poly Arts can take on by themselves. They might partner, or the Pack might partner, or decide to do it on their own and stage some major artists there. Those opportunities are few and far between, but it's certainly possible, and I think would be desired.
Will you let me play chopsticks on the pipe organ?
Anytime.
Really?
Yeah.
We have been talking about doing a tour, and I can't wait to do one with you.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things back there. And I feel really lucky that whether it's like hosting events or TEDx or different times hosting like the loading dock parties, like I've had a lot of experience all around the Pack, and it's such a beautiful building. And to get your insight, I would love it. So we're going to set that up.
Yeah, everybody. We take their tours inside the pipe organ, which, you know, they're inside of a musical instrument. How many get to experience that kind of thing, you know? So, that's a major moment for most of the people on the tour. Can I talk about that graffiti wall for just a moment?
Sure.
So you're on it, and obviously there's a couple thousand artist names on
Blue Man Group. Staff, the other.
Right. And some really cool artwork up there too that some of the groups have put up. But I had a really cool experience since I've been back with the foundation. When I was with the Performing Arts Center as managing director, I had a call from a 6th grader at Teach School, and she wanted to know if she could have her school musical performed in Miossi Hall at the Pack. And I'm like,
is Miossi Hall? That's the big one.
That's the big one.
That is the big one. Okay.
Yeah. And I was sort of taken aback. I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you have in mind? We talked on the phone. I'm used to a 6th grader calling me, you know.
11, 12 years old.
Yeah, exactly. and she was full of self-confidence and all that. And so we talked. I kind of got an understanding of what she was thinking of. Of course, I ended up talking to her mom, and I talked to other people from the school. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And talked to our staff, and I said, you know, what do you guys think? You know, do you think we can pull this off and make it work? And so everybody was supportive, and we managed to make it work. And so Teach School's Grease Junior took place on the stage with the 6th graders performing. Wow. And you know, family and friends were in attendance. I mean, the ticketing system, you know, sold tickets for them. And they made it a fundraiser. I'm not sure if it was for like Woods or something like that. I forget.
I love it. Yeah.
So anyway, this 6th grader came back this last spring. She's now, you know, 20 years older, something like that.
Yeah.
And we interviewed her inside the hall, talked about that experience and all of that. And then she mentioned something in the interview about signing the graffiti wall. And I said, well, do you know where you signed the graffiti wall? And she said, well, I'm not entirely sure. So we spent some time back there, and she had a sense of where it was. And eventually she found it.
Wow.
And saw not just her, of course, but her classmates' signatures there. And you could tell it was an emotional moment for her to see that 20 years later or whatever.
That is so neat.
Yeah, to sort of relive that in her mind. So
amazing. So many heartfelt stories coming out of these four walls.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking building too. It's beautiful.
Right. Yeah. Not
nice.
just your ordinary box. I mean,
No.
I don't know if it, measures up to Gary's Disney Hall in terms of design, all those curves and everything.
Even when cities do this, like I grew up in Agora, Thousand Oaks, and I remember when the Thousand Oaks Civic Arts Plaza was erected, and everyone just talked smack about it.
Yeah, for sure.
It just looks like a big box. And then I don't know if you are familiar with this venue, they had like this copper curtain on the back.
Okay.
And it just was like a rusted rectangle. It was supposed to be like a copper curtain and be like artsy fartsy.
Oh.
No one got it. No one thought it was cute. And it was just kind of a bummer. Like the Thousand Oaks Civic Arts Plaza, cool events happen there. I'm sure they do great. It was beautiful inside.
Yeah.
But like, it's just, this architecture, matters.
Yeah.
And
I have a couple,
pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a couple stories about Thousand Oaks actually, and the Performing Arts Center. So we went down there a few times. Staff did even before we opened, to try and get us, because they opened just before we did.
Right.
In fact, there was a collection of performing arts centers from Escondido up to the Bay Area.
All popped up at the same time.
Well, roughly within 20 years or so. I mean, that's collectively about more than a dozen of them, maybe 15 performing arts centers built within a span of 20 years. And our facility was right in the middle of that. And I was invited to go down to, I didn't end up meeting them in Thousand Oaks, but to meet with the Thousand Oaks Board of Directors after they had opened and after we had opened, and talk to them about, in fact, I was talking to them about our sinking fund that we have to keep this building in as new condition.
Yeah.
And describing how that worked and, all of that.
Right.
And so I was referencing this collection of performing arts centers that had 12, 14 performing arts centers that have been built in roughly the same era along the coast of California. And I described them as a string of pearls. And that resonated with them. They loved that. But what I didn't tell them at the time, and what I've emphasized since, is that, we want to be considered one of the string of pearls, but we want to be the shiniest pearl of all.
Yes.
And that's been our goal with the Performing Arts Center here in San Luis Obispo. And Alberto Bertoli, the architect of our building, gave us that pearl to shine.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a beautiful building from the outside, but not only is it beautiful, but it has a relationship to the landscape around it. So if you look at the building and you look at Bishop's Peak behind, you can see that the roof line mimics the slope of Bishop's Peak, or you look at the roof line and the design on its own, you might think of a wave.
Yeah,
or
it looks really cool.
Yeah, or you might think of it as a piano. Or
I mean, see that.
Yeah, so
we want to make sure when the aliens do come for us, they don't just get in it and launch away.
Well, that's possible, I suppose. I don't know.
I really enjoyed meeting you, man. This was a lot of fun, Ron.
Yeah, I've had a great time. Thanks
for your time, for your heart, not just for this building, but for the arts, for this community. I mean, you're really putting your money where your mouth is, or your heart is. It's really awesome.
Well, I appreciate that, and appreciate you and what you do too to bring these kinds of things and everything else to light and let people know and educate people, and it's awesome.
Yeah, well, thanks for being Up and Adam, Ron.
Okay, appreciate it.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Ron, thanks for coming in, for sharing some of that heart, that history with us. 30th anniversary, happening September 26th. Live performances, food, drink. The whole pack opened up for people to explore and to celebrate. Learn more about the event, get tickets, learn about the foundation and its worthy work. We just got into it a little bit there. You can check out fpackslo.org or packslo.org for tickets. And either way, I got links to both of them in the show notes. So check it out. Thanks again, Ron. All right, see you at Happy Hour Benny's Pizza, Monday through Friday, every day, 4:30 to 6:30. You'll get 3.5 domestic cans, $2 off premium beer and wine, and food specials that are just, they hit the spot. Check them out, 439-3838. They're on Upper Monterey, 1601 Monterey Street, downtown SLO. Let Benny, let the team know you heard them on Up and Adam. Also, give them a follow. If you don't already, it's free. Give them a follow on socials. All right, fun show. Got some good stuff this week, too. Thanks to our friends Moonshiner Collective for being original music on the show called Start Again. Check them out wherever you get your music. Stream them anywhere. Also, moonshinercollective.com. This show, recorded at my SLOCAL studios in the heart of San Luis Obispo County, California. SLOCAL, where the wine is world class, the people are real, and life is too beautiful to rush. Returns well taken. Visit slocal.com. That's SLOCAL, slocal.com. All right, till tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for your indulgence while I was gone in Maine. I'm so thrilled to be back with you. I miss you, and I miss this connection when I'm gone. It was needed, though, but I'm thrilled to be back. Thank you so much for connecting and for staying and being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.